Good evening, Tex, and it's a lovely evening now. It wasn't when we first started podcasting, was it?
No, it's been a little bit of tech support from, I don't know how far away Perth is, but there's something, not just in the water, in the Wi-Fi over there, eh? It's every week something different. So
Every week, something different,
yeah,
We have had some issues with recording with our new podcast friends, Kate and Guy, and we just found out as we did the internet speed test as to what that could be. So if you're an Optus user somewhere in Australia and you've got difficulty streaming anything at the moment, then I would certainly encourage you to do an internet speed test, because we found out that those guys' internet sucks.
yeah. I think it was 0.4 megabytes is what it was pinging at, which is, I don't know if the speed test is the be all or end all, but I think I could actually just send mail faster. We could just handwrite this podcast at that point.
Well, the thing is, it is a Monday evening and we're trying to get the podcast recorded, and 45 minutes later, we can't even get both the others to log in collectively, let alone be in the same recording space at the same time. So we're going to pick up the slack here. We've come back from Cairns. We were going to find out how those guys came back for Cairns, but we can't. We've got back all right. You got a bit sick in coming back after Cairns?
Yeah. I mean, pretty expected, I think, after a hard Ironman, and then probably the conditions as well, just making it pretty ripe for getting sick, and probably didn't take great care of myself, knowing that I wasn't having to race like in a weekend or 2 weekends time. I was kind of just happy to enjoy the moment and cruise on home. So yeah, run down for a few days, but sort of bounce back pretty good now. And it sounds like there's lots of sort of cold and flu floating around at the moment anyway. So back to a little bit of training today, first sort of foray back into the pool, and we'll sort of just build, I suppose, from there.
Yeah, well, apparently it's a bird flu outbreak in WA, so we do hope that Kate and Guy stay healthy. But you're right about illnesses, and it's better to just have a little bit of a head coldy thing, because the viruses that are going around at the moment, that would have had you out for a little bit longer. So I'm actually quite thankful it's come and gone within the week.
Yeah. I was back to the grindstone, back to work, and just sort of felt a bit rough, but I had no real training to do last week. I just got out on my bike for the enjoyment's sake and caught up with the boys for a run, and just sort of doing enough to enjoy moving without pushing it to what any sort of illness make it worse, or making sure I was getting better each day rather than regressing. So hopefully out the other side.
Totally. You got to rest. You can't force it these days. Did you get any opportunity to put your feet up, watch any of the triathlon that happened over the weekend?
I did. I watched most of Elsinore last night until bedtime, which was early because I had my first early swim squad. So I went to bed sort of tracking the run, and then sort of caught up with it this morning. WTCS, it was just scanning through results, to be perfectly honest. Mont Tremblant, I had sort of tracked along and followed as well. Those would be the sort of big three. And then there was a big weekend in the mountain biking as well. So obviously that sort of took priority in terms of viewership for me.
Yeah, 100%. I was watching Elsinore in the background. I actually did dump on the wind trainer and watch the replays of the WTCS race because I just wanted to see how that all unfolded. And it was a great day for France. I mean, Dorian Connex hasn't won in a while. Cassandra Beaugrand proved that she was the quality runner, but Tilda Manson actually produced a faster run split overall because she came out of T2 down, and she's only a little bit quicker than Cassandra's run split time. And, you have to catch up if you're down out of T2 as well. But France won the mixed team relay as well. So the other week when we were watching, Portugal had a great race. France is always dominant, and this is a race course that I know they do a lot of French Grand Prix racing on as well, so a lot of the French athletes have been really familiar with it. But I tell you what blew me away about Quiberon, the WTCS race, was how many spectators were out there. If you didn't see it, mate, I was thinking to myself, maybe this is where all the money should go in terms of building the brand for the sport, because it really was packed in and around the transition area. They had a run course that sort of went up a little bit of a hill to a turnaround and came back down again. It wasn't particularly technical as such, but it was literally lined with spectators the entire way for the run course as well. The momentum for that race was epic, and so for the French to win both men's and women's and mixed team relay, it was a pretty awesome weekend out and just made for some really exciting racing. But I'd actually say the same thing for Elsinore. I actually thought that it looked like it was a beautiful swim down in that marina area. I didn't watch the bike too much. I was following more along with the tracker. What was the bike course like?
It was a bit more technical probably than I expected. Like I thought, I know this is naivety. I think I was just expected it to be pancake flat, like just a rocket ship of a bike course. Every Danish, cyclist you see is just an absolute weapon. And then they're going along that coast road at the start, and I was like, whoa, that's super narrow. And it's not like uber technical, but it was like, it's way narrower than I thought and a bit rolly and a few sort of sharp corners that closed up on themselves. It wasn't totally what I expected, which, I mean, they still rode super fast and showed the quality at the front of the race, just how strong Valdemar Solik is and Marten Van Riel. And then, so the next guy's losing time, and we're not talking slouches on the bike, and then blowing and paying for it on the run as well. I was like, it was a cool in the men's race to watch and how it unfolded, and then a very different dynamic in the women's race with, I think, about 7 or 8 women sort of duking it out in that front sort of bike group or thereabouts, where it was a bit more dynamic. So you had sort of 2 different scenarios unfold on the same course, which I quite enjoyed.
Yeah, I really enjoyed. I thought it was great. I thought it was a great race. Marten Van Riel is a quality athlete across that distance, just a weapon on the bike. But you're right about Solik, because he was Harry Palmer outran him at the Challenge Championship, didn't he?
Yeah, so it didn't have his best run. I mean, he's WTCS sort of or a short course athlete that stepped up this year.
Yeah,
and I reckon he'll be a name to be sort of in the next couple of years, like, because he is obviously so good on the bike. His run isn't, often you get these guys that step up and they're uber swimmer biker, but he still run, what was it, like a 1:11 or 12? Like, it wasn't a slow. It was still a good run. Like, it put him in touch for sure. Like, it wasn't like he was coming off the bike and coming out 5th in the end. No, it was super interesting. And then to swim with Hans Butters, who's obviously one of the best swimmers in the sport at the moment, on a technical swim course, like, all those turns was just going to break the momentum. That's my worst nightmare of a swim course. The amount of, because it would be like pool swimming. You're just having to hit those turns so hard. Like, you can do so much damage in a swim course. Like, that was it was a good course for a swimmer to actually be able to swim hard and not everyone get a free ride as a result. So, and then it would kind of reminded me of Swansea with everyone looking down on you, in the almost like a pool viewership of like, yes, it's a bit calm, but like everyone can watch and see what's unfolding in the swim. So it had, like, as you say, lots of spectators because you could see a lot of the race.
And you're right, like concertinaing into any of those turns and then, coming out of those as swimmers is just a nightmare for the less elite swimmers as such. But you're right about Solik. He's a weapon on the bike, and he gets out of the water early. And he didn't disgrace himself at all on the run. Like, he was with Van Riel for probably at least the sort of first 3 or 4 Ks, and then once Van Riel made the move, he just slowly made the move. It wasn't like Solik had blown, so he was definitely a very worthy second place, and they were sort of a class above the rest. It really was an interesting race. I didn't actually think the depth was that great, out there on the run as well. It was a twisty, turny, technical run with some real changes of surface, cobbles, running down alleyways, mixed terrain, and lots of twists and turns and corners as such. But Simon Vian, who ran 1:09 on that course, shows that, for all the technical aspects of it, you could still run pretty quick. But the times dropped off pretty quickly from there on in for the rest of the elite men. It was hard to work out, was it a slightly weaker performances overall, or was it the run course that was slowing people down? But if you look across to the female race, the one person that wasn't getting slowed down at all was Kat Matthews. And honestly, she is just, we talked about this, and you and I thoroughly agree with this. There is that band of female professional women who are just not just one level above the rest. There are a couple of levels above the rest. And there are, like, it was a very public setting for a lot of pro men to actually realize that they couldn't hold the pace of Kat Matthews as she came past. So that would have been a pretty sobering experience for a lot of athletes that would have been firstly shocked to see Kat running up to them, but then not being able to stay with it.
Yeah, I mean, like, I messaged you this morning when I was looking at the splits, and I was like, I kind of worked out, depending if the tracker markers are correct, I was like, if she'd kept up at the pace that she was moving at 10K, which is where she moved into first, or you pretty much knew she had the win on lock at that point, she would have split like a 72 half, maybe faster, and that is ridiculous. I would have loved to see it, because no one's, especially off a solid, and we're not talking someone's run a 72, but they've started the bike, from 20 minutes back. We're talking proper, genuine contender for the win, and has just gone and thrown down. And like, you're getting close to elite half marathon standalone running, for a lot of countries and nations, and let alone doing it off that swim bike combo on a technical run course. Yeah, because as you said, I think the men's race, they obviously pushed the bike so hard that a few of the men just couldn't deliver. That was all they had on the run. You saw Marten Van Riel's tongue sort of waving around a little bit on the bike. I think Solik might have had him on the ropes at moments, but just gutsy racer he is. But yeah, you're right. Kat Matthews, I'm looking forward to seeing her line up for another half Ironman, I think. Because it's good racing to watch, and just to see that sort of class of run. And, the other woman will have to step up as well. Because she didn't just ride off the front like you often see that in the women's racing with Nib or Lucy Charles Barkley, like they just kind of ride away and the gap gets bigger. This was starting, I think it was a minute deficit or whatever it was off the bike, and then just running through so comfortably and controlled, and then shutting it down because Roth is 2 weeks away. So it was like, that wasn't, I'm blowing up and fading. It was, job's done, I'm sorted, I've got maximum points for Pro Series, next job, 2 weeks time, look after the legs, we go again. Very, very mature racing.
Yeah, let's see how fast she can run in Roth. And I think, as we mentioned, the swim was technical, and she isn't always a guaranteed front pack swimmer. So maybe that's where those swimmers got away on her, and they were able to stay away. And the commentators were sort of surmising that it wasn't her best bike performance as such, but maybe it was just the fact that the girls at the front were working well and wanted to stay away. And was she looking at who was ahead of her and thought to herself, I've got probably all of those girls covered on the run, because she got off with it was a 3-minute deficit, or close to it, that she got off the bike with. But man, she ate that up in no time at all. So maybe she was doing the math in her head and saying to herself, I think I can win, but I'm going to try to win with the least amount of I'm not going to say effort as such, but you're right. Once she went into the lead, I was actually surprised to see her run split balloon out to 1:16. But I just think she backed it off so much. And she made up that 3 minutes so quickly that she did probably have 6, 7, 8Ks of being able to ease it back a little bit and not be so worried about just producing the fastest run split. Because 2 weeks out from Roth, I'm super excited to see what can she do in Roth, and what can she do on that soft pack canal trail where everyone does run really, really quick. So that's something to look forward to. The other thing that and I'm not absolutely sure on this, others may know at this point in time, but is Marten Van Riel thinking of doing Placid? Because he's got some pretty good points in the Pro Ironman series now. They were speculating on the commentary. I don't know if he's publicly said anything yet, but if Placid's in his thinking, he's going to add another name to the list of who could win Placid. I actually hope he does go to Placid. What do you think?
Yeah, I don't know the answer to it, but it would be cool to see him just to bring some European flair to the Placid start list, because we know we're going to get the likes of Foley. We'll get your Matthew Marquardt. So we'll get a lot of the American contingent. Matt Hansen, I'm sure will be there. I assume will be there. But just to have a few other Europeans on there, it just kind of brings that sort of international importance to a race, and it changes the dynamic a lot of it, because a lot of these American, I think Marquardt's a good swimmer, but a lot of them come from behind races with a really strong bike, like Trevor Foley, Sam Long, and then a strong run to back it up. So to sort of have two races in one with these strong front pack swimmers as well does make it a bit more interesting, as a day of viewing.
Yeah, I think Placid could be quite interested once that start list comes out, to see how it all unfolds. And you mentioned Matthew Marquardt. A couple of weeks ago, I was able to record an interview with Matthew. It was before he actually raced at Happy Valley, and we were talking about, where is he heading, and is the Pro Ironman series going to be a focus for him this year? And he's not too sure at the moment, because he knows that it comes with risk if you put all your eggs in the basket of actually trying to chase that Pro Ironman series. You've got to make sure you get a decent result early days, and then if you don't go so well after that, you can pivot to other races, which he's done this year already. He's raced Cape Epic mountain bike events. He was a late starter to open up his season as well. He's doing things a little bit differently. And it was a really fascinating interview. The guy's quite incredible as to how he fits everything into his life. And we took a couple of excerpts from that interview, which we'll release in another episode, which people can hear the full interview with Matthew Marquardt. But we're going to hear from him now as to how he approaches his training and whether he actually watches what the competition is doing.
One of the things I found in swimming is, like, you do a lot of pace work in swimming, just like you do a lot of, stuff at power on the bike. And I found myself being like, well, during practice being like, well, like, if I want to beat so-and-so, I need to be able to go this pace, and or like, my best time is this, I need to be hitting this pace. And if I don't hit that pace, then the season's not going to go well. And so I really tried to have a very open mindset from the beginning, and intentionally tried to stay very naive to what other people were doing, so that I wouldn't unintentionally or intentionally create a ceiling on myself. And so still to this day, like, I don't really know necessarily what Magnus or Sam Laidlow can do on the bike in terms of their FTP or their lactate threshold or whatever, like, because I don't really care and I don't really want to know.
So, mate, I actually think that's a really good strategy from Matt. He seems to be, he's certainly world class as such, but you really don't see him diving into the social media game. And to reference the fact that he really doesn't concern himself with what other people are doing in training. It's easy to say that, but I know that he's commented on a lot of social media posts that have gone up recently, but he really doesn't dig into what other people's power outputs are, what their paces are, like you said, FTPs, lactate thresholds and such. And he just goes about and focuses on what he needs to do. There's something in that, isn't there?
Oh, totally. I mean, it's the dream result for most people, but to actually execute it is a whole different ball game. And I would personally say I try my best, and I try and surround myself with probably enough other sport, so it's not triathlon centric in terms of my viewership and attention span, and never trying to make it an all consuming thing, and making sure there's lots of hobbies and interests outside of it. And I can see why he would have done something like Cape Epic. Like, what an awesome thing, and if it fitted within the calendar, epic, really. As well, like, it's the year, like when we did Volcano, epic, terrible for for triathlon training, but what an awesome week we had. So
much fun.
Yeah, exactly.
I thought that when I said that Cape Epic, I was thinking thinking to himself, oh, I might put that in the schedule for next year, because, I mean,
it's so expensive. It's like astronomically expensive. That must have been some good sponsors or some money company. Because that's on a whole different. You thought Volcano Epic was expensive, mate. Like, Huntley
Yeah, it's
equivalent.
another level. Yeah, he
Yeah.
he did have some offers to come and do the event, which he didn't turn down. And look, he did a lot of mountain biking when he was a kid, so people will find out a lot more about Matt if they listen to our interview when we publish that.
Well, if he wants a teammate, I'll go.
Yeah, yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
The other thing that he mentioned is, how does he fit all his training in? Because he has to be so cautious of time management. And a lot of people, and we've discussed this, and we'll talk about it after we hear this excerpt from Matt, as to whether they're indoor trainers, outdoor trainers, treadmill, road, how do they make it all work? And Matt has his ideas on what works for him. So let's hear from him now on how he optimizes his training.
I think a big part of what a lot of it comes down to is that I'm highly controlled during training.
Okay.
And so partially from an efficiency standpoint, based on time, as well as an efficiency and effectiveness of the workout. Like I do a lot of my training on the treadmill and on the trainer.
Yeah.
And
yeah.
removing some of those environmental variables, I think, has enabled me to have very effective, highly efficient workouts, which I think has really helped. And then over time, we've learned how to fold in just enough kind of outdoor riding to maintain that feel for the road and kind of work on the durability aspect of, the vibrations and bumps and everything that you get on the road. So I think that's really been a key to success, is just highly controlled and highly intentional training, kind of day after day, week after week.
So obviously Matt spends a lot of time on the indoor trainer, a lot of time on the treadmill. He's time poor. You're time poor as well, Tex. But when we came back from Cairns, one of the things we thought about the bike performance in Cairns is that learning one thing about putting out power on an indoor trainer is quite different to delivering power out on the road. That's something that we think might be, we'll work on that a little bit more for Kona.
Yeah, totally. I mean, it's always been a convenient. I think lots of people will be surprised to hear, like, I work, I think it's 28 hours a week now while still trying to train full time, which is it's a lot of juggling act. Maybe not quite as hectic as Mr. Marquardt, but it's still a busy week to fit it all in. And then as a result, I've always deflected to the indoor trainer. And I think I probably hid behind the fact that once I blew my shoulder nice and royally, I didn't actually really touch the aero bars much at all coming into Cairns because I couldn't. And then, I don't know, maybe arrogance, I just paid the price for it massively. And that was the sort of one of the first things to give up. And it was a good lesson to learn for Kona because I'm going to spend way more time in aero and far more testing conditions. And so that will be a massive focus for us. I think anything I do indoors going forward, I'm just going to have to commit to being in aero and kind of almost just reset the expectations around power, which I know we've talked about power meters already and maybe an episode recently. Is it's not about the raw power, it's about delivering the power and the position they're going to have to race in. And then getting out on the road. I love getting out on the road. It's more a time management thing in the day and making sure, because I try and wrap up training every day. So I'm sort of home and out the door 10 minutes later by lunchtime to get to work each day. And so it's trying to squeeze everything in. So there'll be a bit of a juggling act coming into Kona, but I'm looking forward to that challenge. Yeah.
I think we are very fixated on just power numbers as age group athletes. If I talk to that audience, is about, what can I produce on the indoor trainer? But I've heard many athletes talk over time, especially those that have had some experience with road cycling, where they can they're more concerned with how quickly they can go. How do they actually corner? How do they actually ride hills? How do they descend? Having good power is great, but learning how to deliver that power to maximize speed and to navigate your way around a race course is something that an indoor trainer just doesn't teach you. So Matt enough. Yeah.
Are you referencing the Dowsett little snippet that you maybe saw the other day? Because that's exactly what he talks about. So he was having his training. I think his coach and the multiple coaches he had just had his FTP pretty much set 400 all year round, and maybe another coach would change it to 425. And he said it made no difference to what was prescribed for training, because he knew instinctively if he was going well or if he was fit for the tour or any other racing he was doing, with how he was performing on the road and how fast he was going up the climbs, irrespective of the power that was being produced. It was how he was actually riding the bike and how he was recovering and how he was feeling on the training rides. It was the RPE that was associated with it. The training was prescribed based on that FTP, but he never really needed to do much outside of that. It was actually just the consistency of training and how he was performing on the road and how he was moving was the more important metric.
Yeah, I did actually see that short. Alec Dowsett, he a bit of a weapon, and when you talk about FTPs as a road cyclist, when he just threw out 400, you're like, whoo! But you were right. Yeah, but you were right. Look, they really didn't do a lot of testing to work out how accurate that was, because he knew from an RPE perspective whether he was in the ballpark, and he was just more concerned with, how do I technically move this bike forward? So I need good fitness, but I need great technical skills as well. Matt Marquardt obviously does enough to feel that he's being able to take what is obviously some incredibly good raw power, but he's also good at delivering that out on the road. And Placid's going to be more of a challenge as a bike course than maybe what Kona will be. Kona's probably a bit closer to an indoor ride session, but the moment you go to a more hilly, undulating course with some technical changes and differences in road surface, I think that's what we had in Cairns. And like you say, the shoulder injury that you got earlier in the year made riding an aero a little bit more difficult. So we'll certainly make sure that technically we've fine-tuned that a lot better come Kona. Now, Kona, different racing conditions as well. We would have watched Matthew Marquardt, I think. Personally, I saw it here at Topol World Champs 70.3 when we had that last held. He suffered debilitating cramps. And we saw that when he even won Cairns last year. There's some images of him getting out of the water, both quads absolutely locked up. But one of the things that, whilst he was working out the solution to that, he took that and he actually reframed it into a positive. And we're going to hear again from Matt now about what he learned from those debilitating cramps.
In many ways, I would prefer not to have had the cramps.
Yeah.
I certainly, certainly things would have been quite different, I think, at some of the races. At the end of the day, I think I feel very fortunate and grateful to have had them, because it taught me and showed me a completely different way to race that I think most people don't know. Like I can basically do, off the front, or I can also do like Lionel Sanders or Sam Long and come from the back. And so to be able to do either or, I think brings me personally a lot of confidence, and also hopefully, keeps competitors on their toes, because they know that, like, okay, even if Matthew's not right here, like, he could be coming up.
So the point that Matt references there is that even though he cramped in a number of races, not so much here in Topol, but certainly in Cairns, he won Cairns, and the first, he was going nowhere for nearly 10 minutes in that race. But he's now taught himself how to not throw the baby out with the bathwater and reframe and reposition himself to work his way back towards, being competitive in the event. It may not mean winning it, but he's certainly starting from further back. Look, he's got certainly the raw horsepower to be able to pull himself back into the race. But the number of times that we saw him not give up when he was suffering these cramps, it was pretty impressive, wasn't it?
Oh, totally. You can see he's a guy with a very optimistic, just like, I know social media always paints one thing, but he always seems forever the optimist. You don't often see him, or the way he acts, or even, the way he sort of approaches a race. It's in a positive manner, which is really nice to see, because you see a lot of athletes that are pretty happy to throw the bike on the side of the road and just call it a day. So it's pretty, I can't even think many DNFs or anything against his name. He definitely sticks at it, which I am very, I think it's very admirable. I'm all for that.
Yeah. Yeah, it's interesting, isn't it? Because, we go into an event, any event really, and we look at our competitors, especially in the pro race. I don't think age group should as such, and we'll talk a little bit about that later on in the podcast. But I think for the pros, we're trying to calibrate what's going on based on who's around us and where we get out of the water, what's happening on the bike and so forth. And you can't avoid it impacting you, can you?
Oh, yeah. You come out of the water in Cairns and I saw, I don't know, one particular athlete ahead of me. I was like, what the hell's just happened here? I was like head scratching. But then you see another athlete and you're like, but it's, it wasn't very indicative of swim form, but you're totally right. It's such a quick, because you don't really know what's going on in the swim. Like, unless someone's got a very distinctive wetsuit or a swim cap, you've got no idea. And then you get this big sort of guess who as you get out of the water and go, it was good or it was bad. And then you've got the whole bike ride to sort of work out where, especially if you've got some positions where you can check in time splits or anything. You're like, okay, this is moving in the right direction or the wrong direction. How do I change it? What's in my control to try and shift this? It's an interesting game that you've got to try and stay engaged for 8 hours, trying to stay in the game in the moment and pushing forwards and not letting it get the better of you. It's not an easy feat. It's when you're racing, it's your job and your livelihood.
Yeah, I don't know many people that would have dealt with it like Matt. And as you say, you're looking in from the outside, and now that I've interviewed him, you're absolutely right. Such a positive guy, sees the bigger picture, got a life outside of triathlon. If he's got cramps, it's not, I'm going to walk off the race course. I'm just going to manage my way through it. But to stay confident enough and positive enough that you can still, move your way through to the front of the race, which he did in Cairns so spectacularly last year, that takes a special type of character. And so it's a really good lesson in a day as long as an Ironman that, 5 or 10 minutes going in the wrong direction is by no means a reason to give up. So, really interesting. And you'll find out more if you tune in to the full episode and the full interview with Matthew Marquardt when we publish that. Mate, IRONMAN Frankfurt, it's only a week away as this podcast goes out. So the hits just keep coming. The biggest thing I think I'm looking forward to is seeing where Magnus Ditlev is from a performance perspective, because it's been a long time away from, the podiums and actually being on competitive on a start line. Is there anything that you're looking forward to when you watch Frankfurt this weekend?
Yeah, I think because you'd sent me some notes, and I was like, I'm sure there's some big hitters on here, because obviously the Norwegians are racing, and then we were talking about it, Finn Grob Frisch, he's on the start list, which will be interesting to see how he's go. Vincent Louis is on the start list.
That's right.
He sort of pushes one further. That Roth, the Canadian, see if he can sort of move on from Texas. It's definitely, we're now at a point in the season where are you moving onwards from, say, Texas, or are you holding on to the fitness you've got, or where are you trending towards Kona? What's the trajectory? And I think that will be quite an interesting sort of dynamic that might play out in the race. I don't know what the weather's doing there. That's always a bit of an interesting factor in Germany this time of year.
Europe at this point is, if it's anything like the last few months, or even, it could be one of those stinking hot races. Are we thinking that, and again, another athlete that's been away from a start list for a while, Daniel Bakkegaard, is on the start list for this? Is Leon Chevalier?
So I know Skipper is on, and I know Leon Chevalier is on it, because I was looking at this earlier. I'm just going to load up a start list that I had earlier,
because there are some names that have had some difficult year the last year and maybe even longer, who are on their day genuine sort of podium threats. I would certainly put, obviously, Bakkegaard into that camp. Obviously, Ditlev, it's almost where Ditlev is concerned, as I'm thinking that the prowess that he had on the bike a year or so ago may have been reduced in comparison to his competitors. Unless he's moved his bike performance forward, it seems like everyone else has. So is he able to do any damage on that Frankfurt bike course that will put him in a position to go for the win? Albeit he may be just looking for that Kona slot because he hasn't raced a lot, and he may not race as aggressively as what he would have done if he'd been 2 or 3 races into the season. But yeah, there's a few names there outside of
Antonio Benito Lopez as well. He's quality, and I don't think he's got a Kona spot, has he? Potentially.
He may be someone without a Kona slot.
Yeah.
So,
and you've got Jan Stratman as well, who's another quality athlete.
Yeah.
You've got your own Chris Beckmans.
Chris Beckmans. My own Chris Beckmans. Probably is he the only Australian pro on the start list?
Oh, can you not ask me difficult questions? No, there's not flags. Oh, actually, that's a stupid question. Cam Worth's on the start list, isn't he?
Oh, yes, Cam Worth's on the start list. Yeah.
You should know that.
Yeah, I should. Yeah, okay. So there's a number of people that we've got there that it's certainly going to make for a great race. But as I say, I just think it's because of what Magnus can do, and he's been away for so long. I think that's the one I'm looking at the most. But yes, you say it's certainly going to be something worth tuning in for. So we've got that to look forward to this weekend. Now, I just want to circle back to IRONMAN Cairns the other weekend. We were able to give away an entry to Rikki Anderson, an absolutely awesome person and an awesome athlete, and someone who wasn't intending on doing IRONMAN Cairns. She'd just finished Norseman. I say just finished, was her previous race, and she's heading towards Ultraman Wanaka in December, so she certainly loves the long stuff. But we caught up with Rikki to chat about what she went through at IRONMAN Cairns last week or the week before, and she knew it was a tough day, but I'm really impressed with the way she got through it all. So let's catch up with Rikki now. Welcome back to the podcast, Rikki Anderson. It's tough being a supporter.
It is. I've heard.
Let me tell you, though, it's not as tough as the race that you actually were involved with, which is IRONMAN Cairns. You've done it a couple of times. Waking up on race morning, what were you listening out for?
Yeah, I mean, waking up, it's always exciting waking up on race morning. I think the nerves don't hit me as much as they used to. And I think, getting out of the car in Palm Cove at about 6:15 and hearing crashing waves on the beach, I thought, oh, here we go. If it's blown up this much already, and if the water's looking like that, we're on here. We're on for a day.
Well, lucky this isn't your A race. You only had to get through it. But we were talking before we started recording, and this ability to reframe what the day is going to offer you based on the race that you're about to start, it's an important psychological shift that you have to make, isn't it?
Yeah, for sure. And I think, just to go back to that, I do want to thank Fitter Radio for sort of gifting this race to me and the experience. So it's a bit of another one for the memory bank, and it wasn't on the cards, but I'm just so pleased that I got to go up and do all of that again with my family and my friends. And I said to a few people before the race that I kind of just wanted to go all in on energy and vibes and racing and people and connections, and just race quite grateful that I'm not young anymore. I'm getting older, and the body is still just holding up with the battering it cops. So I'm just really, it sounds a bit corny, but I'm just kind of grateful that I can still do it. I had a good day. It was great.
Music to my ears. Now, you got through the swim in 1:06. I'm going to actually say I think that is a fantastic swim time based on the fact that it wasn't quite a UFC event, but it was quite close to it.
Oh, yeah, it was a washing machine. I think that term's been used quite a lot by pros and age groupers. And Jack, as you said, he said he had to fight for every inch. It was pretty rough as guts, but I mean, I still breathed towards the shore pretty grateful. I still had moments of euphoria, a bit of nostalgia. I do love breathing back towards Palm Cove and looking over. And I don't know if you saw the rainbow or not, but
yes,
absolutely incredible. Yeah. So, but yeah, it was certainly a spicy swim. It got away on me a bit at the end there. I had a glance at my watch and thought, oh, geez, this probably isn't going to go just as quick as I thought. But yeah, I mean, I don't mind it physical. It was pretty fun. Happy to get out first in the age group, so that was good.
Yeah, first in the age group. That's a perfect way to start your day. But you get out of the water. You wouldn't have known you were first in your age group at this point.
No idea. No.
Okay.
Do you know something funny happened in transition 1?
Which was?
So you know how you have your tri-suit folded down?
Yes.
Volunteer went to pull my wetsuit off and pulled me off the chair, and I landed on my butt in that gravelly stuff. So you spend a fortune getting a tri-suit that's not going to cut you up, and then my sleeves and tri-suit got like gravel in them. Oh. So I was like in transition trying to get that gravel out of my tri-suit before I pulled it up. So people were saying, "Why were you so long in T1?" I'm like, I didn't want to be cut up for the next 9 hours.
Oh, no.
She meant well. It was really kind of her to help, but pulling me off the plastic chair wasn't the best idea.
All right. Well, I'm glad we're not talking about a rash that is not going to heal by the time your next race comes around or chafing.
No, it's okay. Yeah,
okay.
Got it
the
out
bike
of me.
course. You enjoy the bike course. You mentioned you like looking back at Palm Cove because there's a sense of celebration and being involved in the event. Well, it's a beautiful bike course as well. You certainly transition your way up and down the coast, and you get those great vistas as well. A little bit of wind blowing. So how did that unfold for you?
Windy. That's all right for the first 35K, right? King of the world.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, the PB's
incredible.
on. The PB's on.
You're like, this is going to be a good day here. I don't know if I did the breakdown. It could have been in the ballpark of like 70K tail, 70, 80K tail, like 100K ahead, I think.
Yep.
If you had to, I reckon that would probably be the breakdown. I think, I do love it, but geez, some of those headlands caught me off guard. Like I only ran an 80 on the rear and a 60 on the front, but I still had to hold on at times because I don't know what those gusts were, but there were 2 or 3 spots that I felt quite exposed, and I just had to hold on. I couldn't go down into my drops, and we spoke about it beforehand, just the sheer amount of crashes I saw. It was quite sad. A lot of people's days ended out there. I think the roads, it rained for quite a bit. So I took my visor off on my aero helmet for a really good chunk because I just couldn't see. It was raining and it was foggy. And some of the guys were absolutely pumping down the descents, like made me look like I was standing still. And I'm thinking, oh boy, please don't crash in front of me. Or we're all going down here.
Exactly. Well, you're not the first person to say that the conditions were so difficult that actually riding an aero was a challenge. So
just in spots,
if it's any consolation to you, Jack, my pro, found it difficult at times as well. So. And then I've got a weather app that was saying that some of the gusts were getting up to 50 to 60 Ks an hour, which is really, really strong. No wonder everyone was thinking it's a PB for the first 35 Ks, and then all of a sudden you're 14 Ks an hour, which was quite demoralizing at times. But am I right in saying that if you were first out of the water, was it around about a 5.5 hour bike split for you?
Yeah, it was. Yeah.
That's pretty rapid.
It's good. It was okay. I mean, I don't want to let the numbers define. But yeah, it was good. It was probably just a tad slower than I wanted, but I'm not. Yeah, I can pivot, recalibrate into the conditions. It's never going to be that in those conditions. When you turn around and you have 70K headwind ahead of you, you just have to be patient and grit your teeth and smile through it. And I remember thinking at some point, I'm like, gee, I love riding my bike. and I have something else to say. I currently have a friend that's doing Race Across America.
Okay. Yep.
He's a Townsville guy. He's sitting in third at the moment. And that's like 5,000 Ks in 10 days.
Yep.
So I had no reason to complain. Suck it up.
Fair enough. I'm going to actually summarize this conversation at the end and send it out to a number of age groupers when they're starting to have those tough moments in the race to say, maybe this is how we should position our performance. We're in the race. We've got to find some positives. And so being out there and saying to myself, I just love riding my bike. If the wind's up, if the wind's up and it's making me ride it for a little bit longer, then that's just a bonus.
Yeah,
Okay.
I have a saying, and it's like, wherever you are, be all there.
Perfect. Okay.
No.
The run. Again,
yeah.
difficult for me to determine whether athletes were finding it warm or not. Because again, there was a significant head and tailwind section of the course, which you might be running fast in, but you could be overheating in. How did you find the temperatures?
Oh, I didn't find it too hot, actually. Yeah. I think overall the run went all right. I think I just lost that sub 4 in the end. But yeah, I really enjoyed it. Hey, I put my Boing Boing shoes on, my first time racing in full carbon shoes. So I was so excited to put them on in transition 2 and get going. And I had a lot of people back in Cairns, just spread across the course. And that was such a wholesome experience. Hey, and I had some colleagues come up and they made like a life-size blow-up doll of me. And every time I ran past it, I laughed. It was great. I had some colleagues that were very drunk at the pub. Every time I ran past them, it was fun. Mum and Dad were there. Yeah, partner was there. Friends were there. And that's what Cairns brings, right? Like you just hear your name.
Yep.
And because people can pick my run gait. So I quite enjoyed the run. Funny things happened. Lap 1, I just had to give myself a little pep talk. So into the Portaloo I go and slap, wake up to yourself, shake off all the bad and let's go. So came out of there and I was good after a little pep talk myself. And something else funny on the last lap, just questioning some life choices and laid on the grass out there at the airport end and did some stretches and started to look up at the sky and thought, okay, let's go. You need to keep moving here. But yeah, I think, a wholesome experience. That was the mindset. I said to someone, if you go in with that mindset, you can't lose. So I was just grateful. I was grateful you gifted it to me. I was grateful I prepped for it and did it. I was grateful my family and friends were there. Like, numbers don't always define this, right?
Oh, 100%.
I still went sub 11. That's all right. All right. And I was going to say, actually, I walked past the finish chute on Saturday and I thought, you know what? I think I really still love this sport. It's still under my skin. Like I looked at that finish chute and I thought, oh, wow, after so long, I still love this sport. How good's that?
Brilliant. It's brilliant. And I've got to agree, like the finish line atmosphere in Cairns is very hard to beat. It's perfectly positioned in town. When you come down that final chute, I was there for the pro finishes and it was spine tingling. How exciting it was for both the athletes and also the spectators. So Rikki,
it still does it. It still does it for us. That red carpet, hey?
Absolutely. And I know this is just a stepping stone to a bigger challenge later in the year coming over for Ultraman Wanaka. So, mate, it's
starts
been one
tomorrow, Bevan.
It starts tomorrow. Yeah.
Pray for me.
Okay, it's just a training day in Cairns. I'm glad it was a tough one and that you spent some time out there. But, mate, I'm really proud of your efforts. Thank you so much for supporting the podcast. And make sure you do come up and say hi next time we're in the physical vicinity of each other again.
If she's done the Norseman and she's looking to do Wanaka, that's probably the best weather she's going to see all year.
Well, that's a great summary text because certainly Norseman. She lives in Townsville, so she has to have a cold plunge to get herself ready for Norseman. So she got a cold plunge out the back of the house, and so I said to her, I think you're definitely going to need a cold plunge to get ready for Ultraman Wanaka as well, because Townsville is certainly not going to give you the conditions that you need to get ready for either of those races. But Townsville is one of the closest towns to Cairns, so she was relatively familiar with the conditions from a temperature perspective. She didn't find it too warm on race day, but I really couldn't encourage people to listen carefully to how Rikki dealt with all the difficulties that all of those athletes, including yourself, experienced out there on race day. You know, she saw how difficult the bike course was. And, you know, to quote her, she said, I just love riding my bike. So that's just what I thought about. Like, if it's going to take a little bit longer than I'm out there, then, you know, that's just a bonus. And wherever you are, be in the moment was another thing that stood out to me when she said, you could look at the whole event and think this is just, terrible. The conditions are so difficult. I'm never going to get to the finish line. But she kept bringing it back to what she could control, and certainly just being in the moment. And I think there'd be a lot of age groupers that would have opened the car door out at Palm Cove a couple of weekends ago for IRONMAN Cairns and been completely disheartened from the outset with the conditions that they were going to face. But I couldn't encourage age groupers who do struggle a little bit with the psychology of performance to really listen to what Rikki said in that interview, because I think we're racing for more things than just simply fast finishing times. And I think that's a really good lesson for age groupers. What do you think?
Yeah, I couldn't agree more. And I don't know if we talked about it last week. I actually had no idea of the time until I finished.
Yeah.
I had not a clue. And like, as you say, I probably got in a negative spiral at times, but I always kind of come back to, like, when I approach the run, it's always like, oh, well, it's literally just a Sunday long run with the boys.
Yeah.
It's kind of what I do every single Sunday, and just enjoy. You love that. You enjoy running, and you just tick it off, and then you're like, oh, actually, I only got 10K to go now. And like, it's going to get harder, but it's just that, as you say, staying in the moment and that positivity. And like, I think Matthew Marquardt would have been in the same one when we talk about him. I probably only get to race. We talked about this when I did Hawke's Bay, because you weren't that keen on me doing it initially. I was like, I'm probably going to get to race 5 times or something this year. I was like, the option of not finishing because you're not enjoying it is just not something that should even cross your mind. Like, do the race justice, keep moving forward. Like, it is what it is. It's on you, and just enjoy it. You signed up for it. It's your job. And you enjoy every other aspect of it. Like, why should you not enjoy the race day? Like, you enjoyed all the training process. You enjoyed hanging out with your mates, whatever it took to get you on that start line with friends, family, whatever. Like, just enjoy that day, because especially as an age group, you might only get to do 2 races a year, 3 races a year.
100%.
Like, don't just sandbag it because you're not enjoying it.
Yeah, and just because the weather conditions turn terrible, there are other ways to assess how well you went across the day. I mean, I think we're in some respects really devastated because we only have finishing times and comparison of finishing times. But as Rikki said, I don't know if it was in the interview or not, I said a race course can be totally different from one year to the other. And I actually probably think that Cairns on a good day and Cairns on the day that you guys raced is light years different, like from the swim to even the run, like there was some environmental conditions that affected the entire day. So there's no way.
Frame it in most of the New Zealand, right? Taupo on a horrible day, coming back from Reparoa, block headwind, and you're doing 300 watts and you're going 15K an hour into the headwind. You're like, I might as well walk, and Wanaka was the same back when, was it when Joe Lawn? No, who won? And they got blown because their leader got blown off their bike.
Belinda Granger won that year. I did it that rare. I was
exactly.
Cycling. I was riding at 45 degrees. I was like using this. It was horrific. It was
so good luck for Ultraman in December.
I just think it's finding your why is important, and making sure that your why is not about the finishing time is the take-home message that I get the most from having chatted to Rikki. So well done. It was awesome to give her that entry, and we wish you the best in her preparation for Ultraman Wanaka. Right, mate. Well, next week we do think that our other co-hosts will be in Roth, hopefully on better internet than what
they're going to a first world country. So
they should be fine by then. But we've got obviously that in another week or so to look forward to as well. We've got Frankfurt on the weekend, so I'll let you go. You're back into training, and we'll catch up next week.
Sounds great.